I'm Debbie Berzer with Watch Kansas, and today I have Pat Proctor, who is a House of Representatives of the state of Kansas in the 41st District out of Leavenworth. Thank you, Pat, for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today's topic we discussed, thought we'd talk about is the HR1 topic, the HR1 bill. Can you tell me, what exactly is that about?
Yeah, so I get a lot of questions about this, so I'm thrilled that you want to talk about this today. HR1 is a bill that's been passed by the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., and it is, and I'm not exaggerating at all, the most sweeping change to U.S. election law in the history of this country. It would federalize elections. What a lot of people don't understand is, when we have an election in November of 2020, we don't have one election, we have 50 state elections because every state has its own election laws, and that is by design. That was by the design of our framers and the framers of the Constitution to protect our liberty, because that keeps the control of how elections are conducted, the most sacred act that we perform as Americans. It keeps the control of that process in the hands of the people of each state and out of the hands of the federal government. They understood that a too powerful federal government could run roughshod over our freedoms. And I hate to say this, but we're really seeing it unfold right now in Washington, D.C. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you do not have to be a conspiracy theorist to see what is going on right now. The new president has opened our doors, opened our borders, and is flooding our country with illegal aliens. They're being caught and released into the public in the hope that they'll someday appear for a court proceeding that they'll never appear for. And then on the other side of the Pennsylvania Avenue, you've got the U.S. Congress, which is passing laws which will allow for same-day registration and voting without an ID. Who do you think that's for? Why do you think they're doing that? We're going to have this huge influx of undocumented people, and they're going to be able to vote because we're going to strip all the states of their control, their control of the elections, to make sure that the people who are voting are authorized to vote. It's designed to impose one-party rule on our country for a generation, and it's terrifying.
Well, it is terrifying. It's taking away basically, I feel like it's taking my rights away because I have gone through done all the things I needed to do to vote.
Yeah.
So what can we as Kansans, as not only voters, but not in the legislature, but what can we do as a whole to help prevent this? Yeah.
Well, that first point you make, I don't want to gloss over that because I think it's so important. In the Army in Iraq in 2011, I was, we were helping secure the Iraqi elections, and I saw people that, would walk over broken glass to go vote. I mean, they were, the Sunnis had sat out the election the year that they had voted on the Constitution, and they had gotten stuck for it, and there was no way they were not voting in this election to make sure their voices were heard. And I see, people that had never voted before in their life because they had lived under the Saddam Hussein regime, with their inked fingers and tears running down their face, And my wife, she's a naturalized American citizen, and she just in this in the August primary last year, she ran as a committee woman for her precinct. Wow. And that was one of the seminal moments of her life, being able to go into a polling place and see her name on a ballot for a position. I mean, it was really moving for her, but it was moving for me to see how important it was to her to be able to exercise that right and to be able to participate in her government. So this is, this change is really, really scary, and this is not a far-fetched proposal. When the federal government, when the new government took power in Washington, D.C., I would console myself with the fact that it was a 50-50 Senate. The vice president could come in and break the tie, but we still had a filibuster, which is basically a procedure that allows the minority to hold up debate until they get concessions from the majority. And it's a system that's, it's a tradition that is fundamental to our democracy because it prevents the majority from running roughshod over the minority. It protects minority rights, and it forces compromise, and it prevents the country from lurching dramatically left and right after each election. And so I would console myself by saying, well, we still have the filibuster. But now a couple Democrat senators that before were saying there's no way we will vote to alleviate the filibuster are now wavering. Joe Manchin from West Virginia and Dianne Feinstein from California, they're both saying, well, maybe, because they're getting a lot of pressure from the Democrat leadership to just do away with it so that the Democrats can impose these regimes. But there is stuff we can do, and I don't want people to lose hope because, Kansans are a hopeful people, if nothing else. I'm on the Elections Committee in the Kansas State House, and on Thursday we heard a resolution. We heard testimony on a resolution that would express the Kansas legislature's disapproval of HR1. That we heard testimony from the Secretary of State's office. Secretary of State Scott Schwab is vehemently opposed to HR1 because we have secure elections. We had very secure elections because we require you to show an ID before you vote so that we know that the person voting is the person they say they are. And we have a lot of other mechanisms, like you register a few weeks before the election so we can make sure that you're actually the person you say you are. We have a lot of things in place, and HR1 will just obliterate all of that, and we'll be under the same regime with, internet-enabled polling places. All the polling places will have to be internet-enabled, which is what we were told was the protection against foreign interference in our elections, is that we weren't connected to the internet. So he's against it, and I think that we're going to find out. We vote on this on Monday or on Tuesday. In the committee, and then I'm sure it'll go to the floor of the House, and I'm sure that the majority of representatives will be against it. Then we're going to send it over to the Senate, and I'm sure that the majority of senators are going to be against it. And because it's a resolution, the governor doesn't get to veto it, so that will go to the Congress. And it's a resolution, it's not binding, but I think that the same thing is going on in a lot of other state legislatures. And I think if the vast majority of state legislatures come out saying we do not want our elections federalized, and the American people, us Kansans call our congressional delegation and all the other states call their congressmen and their senators, maybe we can reverse this before it's too late.
Well, I hope so. I really pray so because this is very scary. This could change the future of our country.
Yeah.
It really could. So anyway, thank you, Pat, for coming today. Again, I'm Debbie Berzer, and I'm with Watch Kansas. And I have just had a nice, pleasant conversation with House Representative of the 41st District, Pat Proctor out of Leavenworth. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.